Hey guys, so in this video I am finishing our test review that you received Friday for Unit 5's test, that is tomorrow. So in this section we are given two figures and we are asked whether we can determine if it's a parallelogram or not. So in the first one, we are not given enough information because just because our one diagonal is creating angle bisectors, meaning dividing an angle into two even parts, or the opposite sides are, or opposite angles are congruent, it is not enough information to determine if it's a parallelogram. It's not one of the four cases that we are given enough information. Now on number 2, however, it is saying if we're only looking at this first diagonal here, the second diagonal is dividing the first one in half, meaning this side is equal to this side on the other side, on both sides of the second diagonal. So in this one, or number 2, our answer is yes. It is a parallelogram. So then we go on to the next section. The next section talks about density formula. So we're given word problems and we've got to find whatever it asks for. So in the first one, it says a loaf of bread has a volume of 2,270 cubic centimeters and a mass of 454 grams. What is the density of the bread? So with this information, we are given that our M equals 454 and our volume equals 2,270. Now, a way that I taught you to remember the density formula is that your density equals M over V. M is the first letter that comes in the alphabet versus V. Again, I'll repeat myself. In between M and V, M comes first in the alphabet, so that's why it's first in the formula. So we're going to take our M, which is 454, and divide it by our volume, which is 2,270. When you put this into your calculator, you should get 0.2, and that is your answer for your density. Now for the second one. A block of wood has a density of 0.6 grams cubic centimeters and a volume of 1.2 cubic centimeters. What is the mass of the block of wood? So your D equals 0.6 and your volume, or your V, equals 1.2. So you're going to substitute it into your density formula. So you're going to have 0.6 equals M over V, which is 1.2. To get M by itself, you have to get rid of the division in 1.2. So you're going to multiply both sides by 1.2. The division of 1.2 and the multiplication of 1.2 cancels out. You're left with M equals 1.2 times 0.6, and you should get 0.72. And that is your answer. for your mass. All right, number 16. We are given this block and we are told that it weighs 2,700 grams. What is the density of the granite? So this weight is representing our mass. Weight is our mass. And then because we're given our dimensions of our block, we can find the volume. The volume of this rectangular prism is our length times width times height. And because there's multiplication in between each, does not matter which one we set as our L, W, or H, as long as we multiply all three together. So we get our 20 times our 5 times our 10. So our volume is 1,000. So now we have our M as 2,700 and our volume as 1,000. So our density is going to equal our M over our volume, and it's going to equal 2.7. For number 17, it says if the volume of a cylinder is 540 and the height is 15 centimeters, what is the measure of the radius? So there is supposed to be a pi right here, and it has it on mine, but I don't know what happened to it. So for 17, how you would set this up is that the volume formula for a cylinder is pi r squared times your height. So you can substitute what you have. So the whole volume is 540 pi equals pi. We don't know our radius, so we still have to have that variable r in there, but our height is given at 15. So an easy way to look at this is if that you rearrange your right side to where r squared is by itself. So that 15 pi in the front and that r squared in the back. Again, we can do this by multiplication because it's commutative. So now we have 540 pi equals 15 pi r squared. We're going to divide by 15 pi on both sides. 15 pi divided by 15 pi is 1, so it cancels out. On the left side, the pi's cancel out, and 540 divided by 15 is 36. And we're left with, on the right side, r squared. To get r by itself, you gotta square root it. The square root of 36 is 6. And r squared square rooted cancels the square, so we just get r. So our radius equals 6. And then lastly, number 18 says given a volume of a triangular prism is 540 cubic inches and the base and height of the triangle are 8 inches and 5 inches, what is the height of the prism? So it does not matter which one you set it as, but the formula for volume of a triangular prism is V equals 1/2 base times height times length. So in the problem, it does give you height. This word right here is supposed to be length. So you can just put L if you want. So we are already given the end result is 540 equals 1/2. Our base is 8. Our height is 5. And we don't know what L is. So what we're going to do is divide the whole thing by 1/2. 8 times 5. I'm going to divide 140 also by 1/2 times 8 times 5. Cancels out everything on the right side, so we're end up with L equals 27. So that is your length for number 18. For the next section, we are asked to solve for x for each figure as long as each figure is a parallelogram. So looking at this, for number 1, we are told that MT, which is right here, is 12. So if MT is 12, that means MV is also 12. So the reason why this is very important is because the next information that we're given is telling us that VT, which is the whole diagonal, is a 3x minus 9. Well, if the whole thing is two 12s added together, that means that the whole thing equals 24. So we can set our 3x minus 9 equal to 24. We're going to add both sides by 9, and we're going to get 33 on one side, and our 3x stays. We're going to divide both sides by 3 to get x equals 11. And that is going to be our x value. All right, number 2. Number 2, we're told SU is 46. So the whole diagonal is 40. So if we divide 46 into 2 even parts, that means SD, which is half of the diagonal, is 23. And the other half, which is the DU, is also 23. Again, important part, the reason why we're dividing it into 2 even parts is because the next information that we are given is DU equals 11x plus 1. So now we can set it up as 23 equals 11x plus 1. Subtract 1 on both sides, and we get 22 equals 11x. Gonna divide by 11 on both sides, and we get 2 equals x. So our x value is 2. Okay. The next one, we are told find the measurement indicated in each parallelogram. For the first one, we are told to find angle QPS. Well, the first thing we need to do is solve for x. So this whole angle is together, and this whole angle is also together. So both of these angles are consecutive angles, meaning they are going to be supplementary. So we can set both of them equal to, or we're going to take both of them, add them together, and set it equal to 180. So 14x plus 28 degrees, which was our first angle, plus our second degrees, which was 61x, plus 2. We're going to set it equal to 180. We then need to simplify by combining like terms, which was 70x plus 30 equals 180. We're going to minus 30 on both sides, so we get 75x equals 150. Divide by 70 on both sides, and we get x equals 2. So if x equals 2, can we figure out what QPS is? So QPS is this angle up here. Well, we can find this angle. The reason why we can find this angle is because it is congruent to the angle across from it, or opposite from it, which is 14x plus 28 degrees. So to find it, we're going to do 28 plus 14. Instead of x, we now know our x is 2. So it's going to equal 56 degrees, and that is our answer. All right, for number 2. Number 2, we are told to find angle XWZ. So again, the first thing we need to do is find what x is. So this whole angle and angle x are consecutive angles, so we can add them together and set them equal to 180. So we're going to have 19x minus 5 plus 27 degrees plus 3x plus 4 equals 180. Combine like terms, and we get 22x plus 26 equals 180. Subtract 26 from both sides. We still have 22x, but now we have 154 on the right. Divide by 22 on both sides, and we get x equals 7. Now, going back to what we were asked for, XWZ. XWZ, so we are looking for this whole angle right here. So do know that we already have information to find all of the angle for y, and angle W is congruent to y due to the fact that they're opposite of each other. So we're going to have So we're going to have 27 plus our 3, and instead of x, we now know it's 7, plus 4 equals 52 degrees. And that is our answer for number 2. Now 3 is very similar of what we just did, so we're going to skip to number 4. Number 4 tells us that WQ, which is here, is 3x. Then we have QY, which is here, as 4x minus 7. And it's asking us what measurement is WQ. So we have to find what x is. Both colors, or both lines that we were just given, is congruent to each other. The reason why is because they are bisected by the other diagonal. So we have 3x equals 4x minus 7. We're going to move the x's to the same side. So we have negative 4x, or subtract 4x from both sides. The right cancels out. You're left with negative 1x on the left equals negative 7. X is still not by itself. You've got to divide by negative on both sides. So x equals positive 7. So that's not what it was asking for. It was asking for what is the distance between W and Q. So that means we're going to have to do 3 times 7, which is 21. And that is our answer for 4. All right. In the last two sections, we are asked to find the volume of each figure. So in the first one, we have a cylinder. Cylinder volume equation is pi r squared times h. We're given our r, which is 1.5 squared. Again, we were given diameter, so we had to find our radius by dividing by 2. And then our height is 9. Before multiplying by pi, you could get 20.25 times pi, or you can go ahead and multiply by pi and you get approximately at 63.6. I would accept either. Number 2, you have a cone. The formula for volume of a cone is 1/3 pi r squared times your height. Substituting the values in that you are given, 1/3 pi r, or your radius, is 16 in this problem. H is 30. And you would get 2,560 pi, or approximately 8,042.5. Number 3 is a little bit more complicated. You've got to deal with multiple shapes, and you're going to find volumes of each and then add them together. So the first thing you want to look at is the half cylinder that you have right here. Your half cylinder is right here. So if our measurement of our box is right here at 11, the leftover of the 15 is going to be our radius, which is 4. We also need our height of our cylinder. Our height of our cylinder is going to be our 6, which is coming from down here. So looking at our half cylinder, to find the volume of a cylinder, we still have that pi r squared h, but instead we're going to also divide it by 1/2, or multiply, or divide it by 2 or multiply it by 1/2, either way. So substitute our values in. We have 1/2 pi, our radius, which is 4 squared, times our height, which is 6. Simplifying this, we get 48 pi. So that's going to be our volume of our half cylinder. Then we have to find the volume of our rectangular prism, or our box, which we're going to take our length times width times height, which is 11 times 6 times 12. And then we will get the volume of our box is 792. So we're going to take 792 and add it to our 48 pi, which we get approximately 942.8. And then lastly, number 4, we're given this rectangular prism. The formula for volume of rectangular prism is 1/2 base times height times length. If you substitute all the values in, you have 1/2, 10 times 14.5 times length, which is 6, again, it's multiplication, so it doesn't matter which order you put it in. But when you put it in, you get 435, and that will be your volume. And then lastly, we are given this diagram below, T and EM, with medians at TB, EC, and MA, intersecting at D. AD is 5, ED is 12, and TB is 15. Find the following. So because our lines are medians, that means the long part is 2x, the small part is x. So if you want to go ahead and do that, as soon as you're told that, that's fine. So here's your x, here's your 2x. Here's your x, here's your 2x. Here's your x, here's your 2x for each line. So then you're told TB, which is straight across all the way, is 15. You're also told that ED is 12. So right here, ED is 12. And AD is 5. So then you're asked to find certain things. The first one you're asked is to find TD. So if the whole thing for the green one is 15, that means 2x plus your x has to equal 15. So you're going to take 2x plus x equal to your 15. You're going to simplify to 3x equals 15. Divide both sides by 3, and you get x equals 5. So again, we are asked for TD, which is the long part. Our long part is 2x, not just x. So we're going to have to take 2 times our 5, which gives us 10. So for the first one, our answer is 10. Second one we're asked for our DB, which is our shorter side of our green line that I'm coloring on. So it's just our x. Well, you already found our x, which was 5. So our answer is 5. Number 3, ask for our AM. So that's our red line. AM is the whole thing. Well, we're told that our x side is 5. So if we take 2 times our 5, gives us 10. So AD, or our long side of a red line, is 10. Give me a second. So yes, our long side of our red line is 10. But in our problem, we're asked for AM. AM is the whole line. Our whole line is our 10 plus our 15. So we are actually going to get 5 plus 10 gives us 15 is our answer. And then lastly, we have DC. So that is our blue line. Our long side of our blue line is 12. That is our 2x side. So we need to find what x is so we know what DC line is. So we have 2x equals 12. Divide both sides by 2. Get x equals 6. So this little side down here for our blue is 6. So we have 6 for number 4. And that is all for our test review.